There's no thrill like discovery. The Discovery Channel. Explore your world.
Just below the Arctic Circle in the Great North lies a land so large, so beautiful, so extreme that the Aleut Indians gave it a name, Great Land, Alyeska. It is longer and wider than the whole rest of the United States. It is bordered by 2 oceans and 3 seas. It's 500,000 square miles of amazement. To see it all would take more than a lifetime. If you visited 1,000 acres every day, you would finish your tour in just under 877 years. And bundle up, because it's also the coldest place in America.
It's 49 below today, and just about a 5-mile-an-hour wind coming out of the west.
What is it that draws people here, with its remote locations, explosive volcanoes, and unpredictable weather? Alaska can challenge the most experienced adventurer.
Next thing we know, he disappears out of sight into one of these gaping crevasses. Well, we figure that's the end of this person.
The costs are high.
The wave came over, took the whole crew out. I got my hand tore off halfway. Bear claw, lion claw, my claw.
They're standing in the wrong spot, get killed.
The payoff can be big, but it's not always in dollars and cents. What makes this place so special? Maybe it's that on any day, if you're really lucky, you might just see something that you'll never, ever forget. So welcome to Extreme Alaska.
In a land known for its brutally cold temperatures, it might seem inconceivable that Alaska plays host to over 40 active volcanoes. Each and every one of them are a potential time bomb. The Pacific Plate is colliding with the Alaskan continent. This constant grinding disturbs the mantle, the hot material that is inside the Earth. It causes molten lava to rise, pushes up through the Earth's crust, forming the Aleutian Islands. It is only fitting that this land, created from an evolutionary nightmare, harbors one of the most dangerous jobs in the world: crab fishing. Year after year, the results rarely change. One fisherman will die every week of the season, sent to icy graves by rogue waves and sinking ships. For the next 2 months, 8 men will leave Dutch Harbor and fish the waters north of the Aleutian chain in their fishing vessel, the Fierce Allegiance. They will ignore freezing temperatures, bruised bones, high winds, icy decks, hunger, cuts, fatigue, and painfully swollen joints, working in what many call the most dangerous job in the world. Signing on are Greenhorns Joe Johnson and Nathan Ellington. These young men will challenge the Bering Sea for the first time.
My favorite part about fishing is probably the work, man. It's about in the money. Yep.
My job basically is just to do whatever I'm told and try to do it as fast as possible.
Is that one done?
Before they leave port, all 250 crab pots will be checked, mended, and rigged. The goal for the Fierce Allegiance is to catch 1.1 million pounds of crab. A greenhorn or rookie can easily make $20,000 for this short season. Reason enough to put their life at risk.
It's hard work, I'm intense, and I love the intensity, and the money is a good payday.
I work half the year, I make more than most people make in a couple of years in half the year.
Every minute is critical. With the season opener just 48 hours away, the crew must work around the clock. With the final preparations complete, the Fierce Allegiance heads out. While weather satellites track what will be one of the worst storms in 18 years coming in.
Storm warnings are going to be coming into here this afternoon by tonight, so it looks like we're going to get it. Saying red sky in the morning, sailor's warning, and clouds.
You're going to see some pretty big seas.
I think we're in for a ride tonight.
Captain Rick Message and his crew have fished these waters before, but nothing can ever prepare them for the unpredictable weather in the Bering Sea.
Come on back there, watch your starboard side there, buddy mate.
The process of setting the pots begins. The crew works tirelessly as the weather gets worse. This being Nathan's first time on board, he gets the wet work, gutting and handing out fresh cod, which is the primary bait for the pot. Not 2 days out to sea, the Coast Guard radios all boats to be on the lookout for a man overboard.
Receive the report of the man overboard from the fishing vessel West Point. Keep a sharp lookout for signs of distress.
We got a rescue helicopter flying around right now looking for the man overboard.
A monster 25-foot wave took a young fisherman overboard wearing only light rain gear. The shocking cold water will most likely kill him in less than 13 minutes.
Water will go down, stay down. Hopefully they'll find the body. It's always nice to bring the body back home, but I would say 99% chance they will not.
The body was never found. But there is no time to mourn the lost fishermen because work on board never stops.
Lima 15, L15, take 2.
The process is pretty simple. Chop frozen herring, grind it, fill the bait jugs, hang a 6-pound cod in the middle.
Gotta be faster, gotta be faster. Gotta be twice as fast.
Man, you're going slow,
Let's go, Nathan. You gotta go fast.
Good job, Nathan. Good job, buddy.
Close up the pot and send it to the bottom. At 700 feet down, the pot comes to rest in a bleak, alien world. For the first time ever, a video camera captures Opelio crab as they are lured into the trap. The Opelio crab follow the scent of herring and cod oil by means of chemoreceptors. These organs are sensitive enough to pick up the trail in complete darkness.
You guys shut the doors. I'll untie your buoy setups and I'll have them waiting for you.
Tony LaRussa is the deck boss. It's his job to keep his men from getting injured any way he can.
Joe, help him with the door. Help him with the door. Tim! Tim! Go for that hook! Go over there and hook up 3 pods!
The boat returns about 18 hours later so the guys can haul in their catch. The expectations of the crew are high. The first pot of the season is winched to the surface. Their hard work has paid off as the pot gives up over 300 prime crab.
coming out of the east or northeast. Temperatures start dropping down below 0 with the oil chip back here. Start making ice.
A numbing cold combines with high winds to hammer the crew as they continue their pursuit of crab. The deck pitches steeply.
Go for that hook! Go over there and hook up 3 pots!
An 800-pound crab pot bouncing wildly on the slick deck can easily snap bones like twigs. The work is raw and brutal, but with a quota of crab to fill, these men refuse to stop for anything. But sometimes, even the toughest crew has to sit down.
Just hit me from behind. I had my back to it. Didn't even see it coming. Hit me from behind, washed me into the launcher.
The crew is physically beat up. Did a really good job, but they pulled 200 pots today, but they battled steady 20, 25-foot seas.
You knocked around there too this morning?
Yeah.
So your breakfast is for Advil?
Yeah, 4 Advil and some coffee. For starters. I'll probably take a couple more of these in a while.
So everybody got a little taste of, it hasn't been here in that kind of weather that knows what it's like now. And I think everybody's due for a little couple hour rest.
After a short break, the crew returns to work.
Sounds good. You don't take your time.
I hear you.
With the tanks near capacity and a new storm front on the horizon, the captain makes a decision.
Okay, we're gonna set this gear and then we're gonna head for Dutch and offload there. Get back out here.
Over the next 4 hours, all the remaining pots are baited and set.
I want to beat a rush of boats going in to deliver. So we'll probably head in and try to get there first, get offloaded, get cleaned up, and head back out.
With their first week behind them, the fierce Allegiance heads home. The crab is offloaded and weighed. The tanks gave up 270,000 pounds of live crab. At 90 cents a pound, their first trip was worth almost $250,000. They will turn around and head out in less than 24 hours and do it again and again and again. At the end of the 8-week season, the crew will net their quota of 1.1 million pounds of crab. And more importantly, they will come home unscathed. This is the life of an Alaskan fisherman. The summers in Alaska are short, but the days are long, with over 20 hours of daily sunlight covering the state. Here, almost every living thing shares a single objective: celebrate the survival of the past winter and then prepare for the next. Alaska is almost 3 times the size of Texas. It has over 5,000 glaciers, 3,000 rivers, and an incredible 3 million lakes. Just north of Anchorage lies the Matanuska Valley, carved out of massive glaciers and fed by these rivers and lakes. This fertile triangle is the meager breadbasket of Alaska, which, by the way, ranks dead last in American agriculture. But plenty never got in the way of big.
And we do have some new records this year. Something to be proud of, the Coyote right here. This is a new world record for us on the state, 1998, 39.5 pounds. Another new state record this year is our Alaska Beat. Another new record, world records, mind you, 1998, the Carrot, 18, almost 19 pounds. Of course, you look at your kale. I know you liked the kale right there. We're pretty proud of our kale around here, too.
Two gentlemen with early roots in the valley are in search of the ultimate prize, the 100-pound cabbage. Gene Dinkle, a retired high school science teacher, holds the distinction of winning nearly every giant cabbage contest for the past 25 years. What's the key to his success? It's a secret that only he and his brother share.
This is the cabbage that I'm pretty sure I'll take to the fair. It's huge. A lot of people are questioning, how do you get them to grow so big up here? One of the main reasons is that we have lots of daylight. And because we do, the cabbage doesn't shut down at night. It's constantly growing. We are looking at some cabbages that kind of gone over the hill, I would say. They were Michael Jordan's a week ago, but right now I think maybe they're Dennis Rodman's, a little bit off color. They reached their prime about 10 days ago. My brother Don wound up in agriculture. He's a horticulturist and worked for years for the University of Alaska Fairbanks as a research scientist. When I first started this, I asked for advice, and he gave me the advice on how to go about growing. He said, Don, he said, someday I'd like to beat the pros. How do I do it? And so I told him how he should go about it, and he's done it.
Rutabaga. You don't see many like that. Typical zucchini here in Alaska, that's about our size. Swiss chard right here.
Alaska has a colorful history of farming and agricultural projects. As a part of the New Deal plan to aid American farmers hard hit by the Great Depression, 203 Midwest farm families were transplanted to Palmer, Alaska in 1935.
Well, we came in 1937 as replacement colonists for the Roosevelt colony project that started in 1935 because of the suspicion of war at that time. It was kind of organized as a communistic society. But of course, Americans never took to that. I planted them the first year, and I thought, well, when it was fair time, I better cut one and see how big it is. And it went over 60 pounds, so I took it to the fair and won. It was one of those things where I just couldn't believe it. One of these years, somebody's going to come up with a good, and they're going to beat Gene.
When asked the variety of cabbage seed, the Dinkles are less than forthcoming.
That's a secret. That's the one secret that I won't divulge. Well, this I really don't want to tell you. That's for me to know and you to find out. This year I did something that I didn't tell my brother. I started a little earlier and grew them in big pots and then put them out. My brother might beat me. He has this particular variety, and they do look pretty good. And for some reason, his matured quicker than mine did.
Cucumbers. Cantaloupes, we have to say we're pretty proud of. Cantaloupes are real hard to come by here. These are our giant vegetables.
We only have one major predator, and that's the moose. And they can come in and destroy a garden of these cabbages. They just take a bite right out of the head, just like that. They'll take a bite out of it and go on to the next one. Take a bite right down the line and just destroy them all. One year, the moose came in before the fair and ate all my brother's cabbages. That's probably my only hope for beating him this year. I think that guy might have gone well over 90 pounds, the whole plant, and I was hoping that it would go 100. I measured it before, and it goes about 72 inches, about 6 foot across. The head itself is not large. It could spend a little more time growing, but it's pretty mature. It's a huge cabbage, and it's just gorgeous. Let's load it up and take it in.
Here's a few messages for all you Alaskans who don't have a telephone. Bob and Lois Compton. Bill says he will be down to your place to pick up the RV next Sunday around 3 or so. Moses McMahon, next time you're in town, please call your mother. And Leroy Hansen. Doc Beers says he won't be back until Thursday. The bridge is out and he wants to know if he could see you Friday. That's all for the trap line.
This could be the year of the 100-pound cabbage. For cabbages on your congratulations, Laura. 44.6 tons. That's very commendable. What about sticks? Wait a minute. The Brindle let you 79.4 pounds. Congratulations. Mr. Gene Dingle, you got to tell our audience, it takes more than just sunshine and rain. What does it take?
Just stay at it, I guess.
72.7 pounds. Thank you, Gene. First of all, he's going to tell you the name, and I'm going to tell you the weight. What's the name of your cabbage?
Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman. Got a little wild. Huh? I believe, unless I'm wrong, it's the heaviest cabbage weighed today at 89.4 pounds. Congratulations, $2,000, a big blue ribbon. I want to thank absolutely everybody that participated.
When asked again about the variety of their winning cabbages,
well, I don't know. That's Gene's secret.
And I've forgotten.
I didn't, but I won't tell.
Okay, thanks.
in December, in the scrublands just north of Fairbanks, the sun shines an average of 3 hours and 42 minutes a day. The 20 hours of darkness can dim even the brightest souls. But Alaska has one thing that can lift the spirit: the Aurora Borealis, or Northern Lights. They dance for their dinner almost 200 nights a year. From early spring to late fall, they shimmer and undulate above the great north. The Alaskan natives believe that the lights are torches carried by old souls leading the newly dead to the other world. Scientists say it's electrical discharges resulting from the interaction between the solar wind and the Earth's magnetic field. In either case, with the darkness and the cold, it takes a hardy soul to survive here. In the wildlife world, survival is difficult. Perpetuating the species can be painful. In Alaska, even love hurts.
The object is to get the girls. Musk oxen are what is known as a harem breeder, and that means that one bull will attempt to gather together a group of cows and protect all those cows from any other bulls in the area. Musk oxen have a very ritualized fighting behavior for establishing dominance. When two muskox bulls are going to fight, they will strut around, kind of show off to each other, and they often make some grumbling or roaring noises. And then ultimately the fight will develop by two bulls facing each other and then slowly backing up from each other, with each animal weighing 700 to 800 pounds. It's an incredibly forceful impact. When they collide like that, often their front feet rise up in the air. The shock of the blows sometimes seems to kind of confuse the musk oxen, because often after they've collided and crashed like that, they'll both stop and they'll kind of shake their heads for a few seconds, and then they'll back up and repeat the entire thing. The females, they're the much more sensible sex, don't engage in any of that heavy-duty fighting, so they don't need those big, really heavy horn bosses. Bulls have these extremely large horns on their forehead. The horns themselves are extremely massive, and the skull underneath is also quite thick. But when the bulls fight and they collide right on their foreheads like this on those horns, and these big horns act like kind of a crash helmet. They protect them from any serious injury. For an animal like the muskox that has evolved as a social animal living in groups with both males and females, this fighting behavior seems to be very important, since muskoxen are thriving now and they've been on the earth since the times of the mammoths and mastodons. It appears to be quite an effective strategy and very successful.
Alaska has more shoreline than the rest of the United States combined. Almost 1,500 rivers and streams empty along its coast. Bristol Bay supports one of the richest fisheries in the world. Every year, about 12 billion red salmon eggs are laid in the riverbeds and streams that drain into the bay. This spring, 37 million red salmon will travel through here on their way home. They will swim past hungry predators and fly fishermen, up dams and waterfalls. Only 12 million of those will actually make it back to their spawning beds, where they will spawn and then they will die. But to get there, they have to get through one more thing: the voracious nets of the commercial fishermen in Bristol Bay. Each year, the Fish and Wildlife Department allows a certain escapement quota of salmon to swim upstream in order to spawn. This year on the Naknek River, 1 million salmon must pass before the season opens.
What we're doing here is, I'm counting in hundreds, one, every one is 100.
In Bristol Bay, the salmon come in, and this is the normal area that we usually fish. It's approximately 60 miles. Today, we're moving into the Naknek Special Harvest Area, which is about a 4-mile stretch of the river.
We're keeping them out of the bay because the Kwijak River escapement has not reached its minimum. Escapement is the minimum number of fish that we wish to have to meet the spawn, so that there is enough reproduction to maintain the run.
It's up to Dave Churchill and the rest of the Fish and Wildlife Department to hold these fishermen inside this cramped, claustrophobic 4 miles of river space. If the salmon don't come, many fishermen will lose their boats, their houses, everything.
To most of these fishermen, it's their livelihood. These guys have big payments. These permits are roughly, $120,000, and the boats are up to $300,000. There's incentive for them to fish.
Boats race into the best position for netting.
What you see out here is these guys are pushing the line. We're right on the line, so they're fighting for money.
The starting horn blows, and all at once, 400 boats drop their nets. The closest to the mouth of the river will get first crack at the salmon as they begin their upstream journey.
So they'll start laying on each other and laying on each other.
Just dog eat dog out here. What you're seeing today is true combat commercial fishing.
Crashing and banging and smash into each other's boats, push each other out of the way.
It's tactics. It's what they do to each other. If you can take a competitor out of the action for a few minutes, it gives you a chance to catch a few more fish than the next guy.
That's a good channel for fish to run. Go ahead. The advantage of having a good crew that picks fast. As soon as you need to get the net out there ready.
These red salmon traditionally will run quite close to shore, and if you watch these nets, you'll see these guys that are throwing almost on the beach. They'll start picking up fish right away within 15 to 20 feet of the shore.
Just getting your net in front of the other guy, and so getting right on the line, which counts this year. Seems to be a little niche I found here that I don't have to get out there and battle it out with the stern pickers. Pretty hard to compete with some of those big boats there. Helping India. And they just kind of slowly squeeze you out.
It's what they do to each other. If you can take a competitor out of the action for a few minutes, it gives you a chance to catch a few more fish than the next guy.
This is my first year doing it. I love it.
150 yards offshore my side. They ran way out.
All right, roger that. You're on the north side over here?
Roger.
A boat may be fishing over the line, getting an unfair advantage. Officer Gonzalez responds. Although this fisherman got away with just a warning, several years ago, skipper John Knutson wasn't as fortunate.
Lost all my fish, $2,000 fine, lost all my nets, 2 years probation, 30 days in jail. And the only thing that they suspended was the 30 days in jail. What must have happened, we had a snag and the end was drifting down and we sucked in the end of it with the prop while we were backing up.
Be missing out on $1,000, a couple $1,000.
As his crew tosses the few salmon into the ship's holding tank, John heads to the tender.
Swing by my bow here. Unload the salmon that we've caught today.
The day came to a close and the numbers were meager for the fishermen. So was the entire season. The salmon never came home in big numbers. Nobody knows exactly why, but they all know it was the worst season in commercial salmon fishing history.
We did terrible, terrible.
The existence of glaciers in Alaska dates back 13 million years. Frequent North Pacific storms furnish an almost constant supply of precipitation. As snow accumulates, pressure causes ice crystals to fuse, forming a river of glacial ice. Driven by gravity, temperature, and snowfall, glaciers flow downhill slowly, very slowly. Glaciers cover about 29,000 square miles of Alaska, enough to blanket almost the entire state of Maine. To many, glaciers offer an incredible once-in-a-lifetime adventure.
I think the ice is wonderful. You can get out there with crampons, and you have to be real careful, and you have to be technically proficient. It's just a great play area. It's just a whole different kind of experience than you can get than just hiking a trail. And there is an element of risk.
For a few, tempting fate by climbing alone on a glacier is the ultimate thrill.
When you're out there by yourself on a glacier, you're exposing yourself to a considerable level of risk. If you have a problem, there's nobody there to help you out.
In the southeast corner of Alaska lies the Juneau Icefield, a massive chunk of ice 15 miles wide and 70 miles long. Hiking by himself on the Mendenhall Glacier just west of Juneau, local climber Doug Drexel came across an amazing find.
Something caught the corner of my eye, about 100, maybe 150 feet away. And as I looked back, I saw this brownish kind of rust color. It just didn't look right on the glacier. Being kind of curious, I went to check it out. As I got probably within 50 feet, I noticed a pair of boots. And I had this kind of weird feeling, and I got a little bit closer. And I said, oh Lord, I hope that's not what I think it is. Then I could see the bones, I could see the clothes, and I realized it was a body. I did a 360 around the body, staying about 20 feet away. Still kind of feeling uneasy. And after just a few minutes of kind of knowing where the body was and kind of taking my bearings, I decided I needed to get off. For myself, I was worried looking around that I might be the next victim here if I wasn't careful.
Stunned by his find, he carefully made his way off the glacier as his mind raced.
Who is this person? Does their family know what happened to this person? You know, to me, this person was alive, used to laugh, you know, and they're not around anymore. It's gone.
Alaska State Troopers identified the body that melded out of the ice as that of Thomas Hargreaves, a British climber who disappeared in the Juneau Mountains 5 years ago. Hargreaves was an adventurer who spent winters climbing mountains in South America. But come spring, you would find him on a fishing boat working his way north to his beloved Alaska playground.
He was just a really caring person.
He was a wiry little guy and a hell of a worker. He was a fun guy. He would stay at my place. I'd see him when I saw him, was the kind of thing, you know. He'd come and go. He showed up. He'd been here about 3 days, and he left a note at my house saying that he was going to climb this mountain off to my right here, Mount McGinnis, and would be back that night. He didn't come back that night.
They found his bicycle at the bottom of the trailhead.
We were pretty panic-stricken. Nobody had seen him or heard from him. And at that point, we contacted the state and cranked up an official search.
An intensive air and ground search was launched and went on for several weeks.
Fall in a crevasse, either killed in the trauma of the fall or die down there from hypothermia or injuries. I mean, that's it.
Friends and family tried to unravel the mystery of what happened to Tom. Did he fall?
One slip, one fall, and, you know, you're unconscious.
Did he hit his head?
That's concrete.
Did he slip down a crevasse where he was wedged in the ice, unable to free himself? Was he lying in a pool of freezing water? All possibilities were deadly.
If he would have fell into that water, which would just have been above freezing, and bumped his head, you're talking a matter of minutes where somebody could die.
Sea Dogs 1, temps code 337. We have yet to spot any signs of the climber, and we are beginning to run low on fuel. We're going to go ahead and call it quits for the day, and we'll start again first light tomorrow. Thanks for all your help.
After several weeks, the search was called off. Tom Hargreaves had simply vanished.
He was found 5 years later. Probably the most likely scenario is he fell into a crevasse, bumped his head, died of hypothermia fairly quickly. I probably shouldn't have been out there by myself. I think that just reaffirmed finding the body, that it could just take just that much. and then you're gone.
When you're a kid in school, they tell you about the buddy system, you know, how you should always be with your buddy whenever you go do something. And that way, if you ever get in trouble, somebody will always help you. But Alaska doesn't bring out that in people.
I had this tremendous feeling of loss and guilt over the 5 years that he was gone. But then a real feeling of relief when they found him.
I guess to put it in perspective, I learned from his mistake, and that's a heavy lesson, you know, that I take with me.
He was following his spirit. I think Alaska just fires that. It just instills that in people's soul, and I think Tom felt that, and maybe that was what he loved about Alaska, was that that was in his soul.
For nearly a century, climbers around the world have sought to summit Mount McKinley. Adventurers come here to claim a first ascent or simply to face and to conquer a personal challenge. In this summer season, almost 1,000 adventurers will attempt to summit the mountain. Less than half will be successful. Some will be rescued, and an unfortunate few will go home in body bags. McKinley was literally carved out of the earth and bedrock by massive glaciers. Its size is staggering, 20,320 feet. That's almost 4 miles straight up into the stratosphere. Because it is so massive, Mount McKinley actually creates its own weather.
It's a big mountain. It sticks up into the wind. You're going to have the wind swirling around in all different directions coming at you there.
Winds become super cool, racing out of the Siberian Arctic. They roll across 2,000 miles of open tundra, polar ice, and frozen seas, picking up speed as they go. These storms come in fast, out of nowhere, on a collision course with McKinley and anyone unlucky enough to be on it.
That mountain is like a subtle killer. I climbed Everest in '92. I've climbed Denali to the summit 4 times, and I've got to say that Denali is a colder mountain.
On a perfect sunny day in June, 8 British soldiers depart their camp at 16,000 feet to make an attempt to the summit. Carl Bugord, an 18-year British Army veteran, is a member of this group.
It's a challenge, never done it before. Scared of heights, thought I'd get over it after that.
When the men set off, the weather is clear. They climb slowly for 12 straight hours. At 19,000 feet, just 600 feet from McKinley's peak, disaster happens.
Someone shouted over that there'd been a fall.
Over the next 72 hours, the climbers stagger back to base camp, all except Carl Bugord and Martin Spooner. Spooner has serious injuries to both ankles and is unable to walk. Bugord volunteers to stay behind with his friend, a decision that will cost him dearly. For the next 3 days, they fight to survive McKinley's wrath. Blizzards and brutally high winds cause the temperature to drop to 100 degrees below zero.
When the weather started getting bad, I mean, we were in close together, but it's so bad at times we couldn't even see each other. We started feeling our fingers, as soon as we exposed them to the weather, our gloves had to go straight back on. Otherwise, within 5 seconds, at the very most, your hands were just freezing and nearly crying with the cold. This is the coldest I've ever experienced in my life. Just couldn't feel my toes anymore.
When they left that morning for the summit, these men believed they were taking a 16-hour round trip. No need to carry shelter or supplies. So Carl and Martin are unprepared for the day upon day of bitter cold.
We thought we'd been deserted, that's without a doubt.
I've never heard of anyone spending that much time up that high in McKinley and surviving it.
There's a stage when we thought they're not going to come. And if we don't make a move, we're going to be, well, we won't be going down at all again. That's when I started to think of back home. So being back at home in Guernsey, on the beach. It didn't look like I'd ever be doing that again on the 3rd day.
Miraculously, Carl and Martin's new position will save their lives.
All around us, I thought, well, if we don't get rescued after this, well, I think we've had it. I was just praying that somebody up above was looking down on us and help us out.
We had Jay Hudson do a flyby, and suddenly one of them got up and waved his arms. And I remember being able to look up and seeing something kind of movement out of the rock.
Drops a package down to us, which has got hot chocolate, a tent, sleeping bags, more warm clothes. And that was God's gift coming down to us. We had some hot chocolate and it gave us a radio. So we started talking to 14 base camp.
But they want to know down here if you've had a roof over your head or not, over. Oh no.
No cave. Okay.
Right, so let you know, listen, you need to have your crampons on so you don't get pulled along and slid along. Understand me, over?
Understood, Braxton.
Yeah, get them on there.
At 20 to 3 in the morning, they come up and they lift us off the 19,000 foot ledge.
We hear Jim say, "I've got him."
As he took us off the mountain, he just swung off the mountain side. And you could just look up and thinking, what were we doing up there in the first place? It's just like absolutely enormous it was. It's a soft landing, 5 minutes, and we're on the ground.
We're amazed these guys have gotten off the mountain. We're ecstatic about it.
So happy, unbelievable. It's like Christmas when you're a 4-year-old.
A rescue helicopter finally brought to an end the ordeal of the 2 British climbers stranded some 19,000 feet up a mountain for nearly 4 days in freezing conditions with no food.
Considering the possibilities, these men are extremely lucky. Martin recovers with only minor ankle problems, but Carl's celebration is short. He is now in for the fight of his life, trying to save his damaged feet.
I've never seen frostbite before. I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. And when we were in the hospital, the doctor said, he put my feet in a bowl of water. I think it's 100 degrees, the warmth was it. And he said it started to hurt when they start to thaw out. But they never started to hurt, so I thought that's fair enough. I'll be all right.
But it was far from all right. The lack of sensation in Carl's toes meant the tissue was already dying.
When I first saw him, it was halfway up my feet, actually black. And coming down towards the 3rd, 4th day, they had actually gone down to about a quarter of the way down my feet, so it had thawed out a bit.
In the frigid climate of Alaska, frostbite is an all too common affliction. Without proper medical attention, frostbite can lead to disaster. In Carl's case, his exposure to such prolonged double-digit sub-zero temperatures made the onset of frostbite almost inevitable.
It's after a few days that he said that they would have to be amputated.
After surgery, Carl returned to his home in the Isle of Guernsey.
Don't miss toes as such. You just get these phantom pains where you think you've got toes, like they're trying to come out. It's a strange feeling. And the only thing I miss like is playing sport, like football. I'm not a religious person, but I said if I ever got up that mountain, when I got back to Guernsey, I would go to church on that first Sunday. I did. I haven't been since, but I did go that first time.
Why? Why do they come? Because Alaska is a place that draws people. Dreamers and misfits, prophets and hermits alike. A siren's call, it beckons. A giant white dream like Ahab's whale. They come to seek their own private dreams and gain their personal fortune. They stay to test their skills in one of the last great frontiers on the planet.